Oh, g'day scrappers. Thought today I'm going to scrap out a few items. It's a beautiful day here, so good day as any to start scrapping out stuff. First up, obviously I'm not going to scrap this projector out. It's the vintage General Electric PJ5000, and yeah, it's quite an interesting little or big contraption. And yeah, so from what I understand, like I've tried to do a bit of research, there's not a lot of info on these. This is about one of the really early ones. The ones that were generally available, they had writing on the front here and a little bit different. So this is the yeah, the super early version, and from what I was told by the guy when I picked it up off the street, is he had this for a long time in storage, and he said it's the first one that ever to come into Australia. So I don't know if it's the very first one completely, but it's definitely the first one that came into Australia. And yeah, I can't find any images of this online. The only one is with the writing, so I thought I'd just have a little look at it, and then I'd go on, I'll put it away and then go on to scrapping a few things out. So I removed the covers to have a little look at what's inside there. This side has most of the circuit boards. The other side you can't see much when you take off the cover. It's just got one very large power supply board, and it's all kind of sealed, so I didn't want to open it up. But I can get this side off to just give you a little look. Okay, so yeah, it's pretty, you know, full on actually. The yeah. Like, obviously we've got circuit boards here, and I can see they're all a lot of silver soldering. I can't see much gold recovery apart from obviously the IC chips and stuff. But yeah, it's a very interesting setup here. Another circuit board underneath here, and we're also got a few more under these covers as well. So behind all this, there is one big circuit board, and where these sort of modules sort of hook into. So there's pins coming out of the back circuit board, and yeah, it's very interesting. I can't really show you much of it because I don't want to open it up or do anything, and you know, obviously I don't want to damage anything. Hopefully, I'm not sure how to power it up, and I don't really want to power it up because just in case I might end up selling it or something like that. And you know, before you power up vintage stuff like this, you want to make sure everything's sort of like clean and in order. So it's not my forte. And at the around the back here, there's also this control panel, and it's probably one of the very first remote controls, if there is such a thing. So this actually comes out, and it's on a long cable, and so that's the remote control system, I suppose. And so it's still in very good condition, as you can see. PJ5000. Yeah, I'm not really sure what to do with it. Now there's other controls, connectors inside there, plugs where you put things into. But yeah, it's just a really interesting little thing, and it's the first time I've had a chance to have a look at it when from when I picked it up on the weekend in street scrapping, hard rubbish. And so yeah, it was when I first saw it, I thought, oh, this must be a generator or something, it's so big. But yeah, it's yeah, pretty amazing projector. And so the front here, it's this is an adjuster. It tilts it up and down, and all kinds of ways. It's pretty General Electric have got the patent on that tilting mechanism. There's the little lens here, and it's really good that it's still got the original cap. So that's the lens. And he also gave me, when I mentioned the lens on the street when I was picking it up, he said, "Oh, hang on, I've also got another one in the garage." So there's another one there. It's a lot bigger lens. So I'm not sure what this one was for, but it's original, genuine, General Electric, made in Japan. So this is the model GN479. So I don't know how to install this one or take the old one out, but it looks like, okay. So it looks, it's even, I can still feel the grease on it. So it's, looks like it's in perfect condition. Just needs a little cleanup of the dust, but it's just a little bonus thing that that can go with this. I'm sure that this lens alone wouldn't be easy to find for anyone that was interested in something like this. But yeah, it's a pretty amazing little thing, and it's very heavy, and I'm really not sure what to do with it. I'm certainly not going to scrap it out. So I want to either, I'm going to keep it. I might try and advertise it just to see if there's any interest out there. But it's the sort of thing that as soon as I took it, I knew that, you know, I'm kind of, you know, I didn't want to see this in landfill. Like, can you imagine if I didn't pick it up and no one picked it up? This would have just went into scrap steel. You know, the garbage truck would have come and picked it up a couple of days later, and it would have been sitting out in the rain. And, you know, imagine this going to scrap steel. It would be just disastrous. So I couldn't let that happen. And so now that I've picked it up, I kind of feel responsible for the preservation of this, because there's no way that I'm going to scrap this out for, you know, $20 worth of aluminium and circuit boards and stuff like that. If I can't get rid of it, if I can't find a buyer for it, or someone that's really interested, I might one day just donate it to a film museum or something like that. And so, but I'm going to hold on to it for as long as possible. You know, it's not going to get any newer. So yeah. So that's the first thing. I just wanted to give you a little show of this, and just have a little quick look at it. There's not a lot I can show you without actually ripping it open. So, but that's it. That's the General Electric PJ5000 vintage projector. First of its kind in Australia, and probably one of the very early models that was available on the market. Because yeah, if you look up PJ5000, you'll see that all the rest come up with there's a logo at the front here. This is obviously a little bit different. It's earlier model. So yeah. All right. Well, I think we'll go on to the next item that I'm going to actually start scrapping out. So let's get scrapping. Okay, so the next thing I've got here that I picked up on the same day off the streets was this GBC scientific piece of equipment. It's the Atomic Absorption Spectrophotometer. And I think someone gave a bit of an explanation on the video what it kind of does. It analyzes chemicals and metals and things like that. They can analyze gold and silver and all kinds of things like that. So yeah, very interesting. I thought I couldn't resist picking it up, and it's yeah, it's probably had some weird and wonderful chemicals and stuff running through it at some stage, but apparently they flush them out after each time they do one of them, and I suppose this was sitting in someone's house. But isn't it amazing that something like this, you know, when you go out street scrapping on hard rubbish, you know, you don't expect to find scientific pieces out there on the street, you know. Yeah, usually this kind of stuff is recycled by, you know, straight from the labs, rather than someone's obviously brought this home and used it, or just thought they might just keep it, and then they decided not to do anything. But we'll have a little look inside, and I just want to it's reasonably heavy, and I just want to scrap it out now, and I can't do anything with it. It's no use, no value to me, and I don't have all the components for it, so I'm not going to try do anything with it. I'm just going to scrap it out, and it's mostly going to be scrap metal. There's not a lot. There is one circuit board in there, but really there's not as much as what it looks like anyway. So let's just quickly scrap this out and go on to the next thing. Alright, so let's get this thing going. That's it there, that's the model number and all that. Yeah, as I said, there's not a whole lot in here, so it's going to be more for just mostly scrap metal. It's not a lot. The only thing decent I can see is a very, you know, nice transformer here, and a bit of an old circuit board, but that's about it. I'm not into keeping little, you know, oddball components like this, because I can never find them when I get them. But yeah, it looks like not a whole lot. I would have expected, you know, being a scientific thing, you know, I was hoping to get a little bit more really cool stuff out of it, but well, we'll get some wire and things. There's a little meter here. Looks like there's a little bit of gold plating under that metallic part, so I might just keep this little thing, and I might open it up. Okay, well, it's going to be even easier than I thought. So over this side there really isn't much. I can see some brass fittings and stuff, but and a bit of aluminium, but really not much here. Let me get this. Yeah, I suppose it's just designed to do what it's got to do, and it doesn't need a whole lot of fancy things. So it's probably going to be quicker than I anticipated. It's, you know, just a matter of getting a bit of this aluminium out, this thing here. But I can go over to this side. It looks like this whole cabinet. Okay, well, that's easy enough for me. Okay, so this is pretty much what I wanted. If I knew that, I probably would have just, on the street, I probably would have just slid out this box and just left the rest. All right. Well, there we have it. This is like a piece of perspex with mirrors on it, so no doubt to reflect some kind of image or something. So there we have it. Got the big transformer here and some wiring for all these switches, dials. We get some value there. I don't need the actual dials or anything, but the best thing there is on that circuit board I can see a really nice gold chip, gold capped ceramic IC. So and it looks like one that I've never seen before, so it'll probably just go straight into the collection. Yep, scrapping is getting stuff like this, or scrapping in general is, well, it's, what do they say? It's a bit like a box of chocolates. You bring it home, you never know what you're going to get. But I always appreciate getting unusual items, even though it doesn't have a lot of scrap value. It's just the experience. At least now I've scrapped one out and I know what I got out of it, and I just had that experience of scrapping it. That to me is what it's all about. And it's the reason why I go street scrapping in hard rubbish is, it's as I keep mentioning, it's not for the money side of it. I mean, I recycle eWaste as a part-time business as well, and so the money is in the recycling side of it. When I'm picking up from offices and stuff like that, I get the IT equipment and all that. That's where the good money is, or the okay money. So what I do here, this is just purely for the fun of it. And so I think for a lot of scrappers, it's always good to, do things like this for the hobby of it, because to make money from scrapping, it's very hard work, and you need to have good contacts or good places to get your scrap from. And it takes quite a while to build up places where you can get a constant supply of scrap, Cut out these cables. Alright. Well, I think I need to turn this upside down. Yeah. What I've got to do is undo all these little nuts to release this circuit board. But you can see that gold capped really nice IC chip there, and all these IC chips, they're just the removable ones, so they're sitting in the little mounts. But this is the one. The rest would be good for gold recovery, all these IC chips, simply because it would be a high-end piece. But okay, so this doesn't have gold legs. The chickens are going crazy, but as you can see, I love these little ceramic IC chips. So it's got the gold cap. You can see that gold line running through. It would have been even nicer if it had gold legs, but still, and it's only a really small one, but it'll go into my little collection of gold capped stuff. And I reckon probably never find another one like it. So I'll put that away. All right. And I can see some really nice old style heavy duty tantalum capacitors. So I'll just turn it around and have a look. So it was obviously put together without the intentions of ever being pulled apart, because hopefully it's just them screws, because the rest are flathead screws and they look like they'll take a while. Okay, got to take off the gloves too. Sometimes gloves can be a little bit difficult because you don't have the feeling of what you want to actually touch. Okay, so there we go. Good old transformer. Doesn't really have any identification numbers or anything, so it's a little bit hard to sell. It says 100 volts, 110 volts, 240 volts, 220 volts, okay. DW337. So there you go. I might just keep this aside. It might come in handy just as a transformer. It's probably going to be a reasonably good quality one, being in a scientific thing. So, you know, certainly better than from a microwave or something like that. So now it's just a matter of working out how to get this circuit board out. Okay. Okay. Well, there we go. All right. Now, so we've still got this panel on there. This side of the board, not a lot, but I'd imagine that this would all be silver solder. So it would be still valuable for the recycler to get value from it. Yeah, you know, it's certainly got some IC chips and they can all be removed, and yeah, I can see it's all kind of like silver trace running through as opposed to gold tracing. And yeah, these, okay, so they're tantalum capacitors. As you can see on one side it's got a little positive symbol, so these yellow ones are definitely tantalum capacitors. So we can get them off, and the rest would probably just go, if we take out all these IC chips, it's just basically low grade board, even though it's got, you know, silver and stuff on it. There's nothing really much else to it. So, but that's the main chip we wanted. As soon as I saw that, I knew I had to take the whole thing, because I just wanted this chip for my personal collection. Anything with gold caps, I love them. And so, but I'll take all of these IC chips and these tantalum capacitors. I want all them. And these ones will be good ones. These are actually really fat bubble tantalums, so I reckon they'll have pretty good tantalum content. Not that I recover tantalum myself, but it all adds up into the pile. Just get it. So there we have it. What do we got? 8 tantalum capacitors. And so after a while, when you if you're going for this kind of stuff and precious metal recovery, you know, you can really tell what, you know, you'll get to know just by seeing them instantly whether it's a tantalum capacitor or not. I don't look for the little positive symbol on it, because I know just by looking at them that they're tantalum capacitors. And so this one here, you can see that little black slug inside. That's the tantalum slug. And there's also a little bit of silver in them as well, but mostly this is all about tantalum. And you know, these probably have 30 to 35% tantalum by weight, if not more, with these ones, these high-end vintage ones. Well, it's not really vintage, but I can just see that these are high-end epoxy dipped tantalums. So they're good. And yeah, pretty straightforward. The rest, just these are removable IC chips. So all I'm going to do here is just take out all these ICs, and I'm happy to render this as a low-grade board, because I suspect that some of these ICs might be okay. Even if they're not okay, I'm still happy. But what I'll do, I don't have my good pliers with me. Okay. Okay, I'm just trying to have a little look. It doesn't, I don't see obvious gold, so they might not be that good, but it doesn't matter. They're still classed as IC chips. So, got a nice big one here. So that's it. That's pretty much anything really worthwhile getting out of this contraption. So as you can see, if I remove the rest of these IC chips, it'll pretty much just be a low-grade board. You know, I might even leave the rest on because I couldn't see any obvious gold, and try and get away with it being just a mid-grade board. So aside from some wire, now we do have a bit of weight over this side. I want to get this aluminium part out. Okay. See this box here? Yeah, so it's mostly all just mechanisms and stuff, you know. We've got brass and stuff, but there's no real chicken's going crazy, but there's no real precious metal stuff here anymore. It's mostly brass. Might just undo these two. No. Okay, bit of aluminium. We've got these nice brass fittings here. Bit of aluminium, yeah, so we can take off all this brass, get a bit of extra value out of that. Okay, it's a nice piece too. Some nice heavy chunky brass here that we can clean up again. That's just for that thing, and no, I'm not going to keep it. I'll just rather get the brass and be done with it. And yeah, a couple of more brass fitting pieces in there. Just a bit more brass. There, yeah, so a bit of brass. Reckon that would probably be brass as well. Some aluminium, but not much. Yeah, that's just about it. We're done. We have got, there is a couple more brass bits around that I'll clean up. Well, okay, we got that one out the way. I mean, a big, giant piece, but all we really got is just one circuit board, and it's really not much value apart from that gold IC chip that I took out, some tantalum capacitors, a few extra chips. But we did get this really nice big transformer here, and because it's from a scientific piece, I'll probably just keep it, and still got the wires attached, so I'll just leave it as that, and it might be useful to someone. But that's it. That was all I was really going for in this giant piece. Pretty funny, but that's what hobby scrapping is all about. Alright guys, let's get on to the next thing. Okay, so the next thing I'm scrapping out today is this other thing that I picked up on the same day in street scrapping. It's this safe cube, and basically I can see the burnt in images, 4 images, so it's obviously a CCTV camera monitor, probably in a security office or something like that. So yeah, safe cube. I just never seen one before, and at the time I didn't notice the 4 screens. I knew it was a CRT, but I just didn't realize what exactly it was, and probably the thing that threw me was the fact that there's a hard drive in here. So that's why I thought I'd pick it up. You know, normally I don't pick up CRT monitors very often unless I'm going on a copper frenzy. But I just want, because it's so a little bit different, I thought, well, why not just get it and scrap it out and see what's actually inside this safe cube, as they call it. But at least we've got a hard drive to start off with, so we've got some scrap value there. No doubt we're going to get some copper from the degaussing cable and the copper yoke, and obviously there should be at least one power board in there, so we'll get some value. And it's pretty much all a steel construction, so might even be able to get away with this as a scrap steel in the end. But I might end up just taking it to the recycling center, because it's a CRT. I still want it to get recycled properly. And here there's you know, we've got Ethernet port and stuff like that, so you know, obviously a little bit different than most things. So yeah, interesting. So let's scrap it out and see what's inside and see how it looks and whether it's any different to a regular CRT television. Well, I've undone most of the screws. The last screw, just to speed it up a little bit. I think I'll turn it this way so we can get a look as I open it up. Here we go. So the safe cube. Okay. Well, it's pretty much your standard CRT television. Looks like it's got a little separate little power supply, kind of like probably a yeah, just a power supply. You've got your main board here, standard CRT, and looks like we've got a bonus board here for the, obviously the Ethernet and stuff, and it looks like it's a reasonably good quality, high grade board, so that's a good one. So that's probably the only difference. Alright. Standard CRT, you want to cut the cord off the flyback transformer and off the tube. Once we got that, the power between the tube and the flyback transformer is gone, so it's nice and safe to handle. That's only assuming that it was plugged in, say, in the last few days, but it's already been a few days since I picked it up, so there wouldn't be residual power in there anyway. Okay. So we've got our copper yoke. It's always a nice bonus. Cut the cords off. Little bit of extra copper up here. Bit then in these spools. Ferrite with copper. And we've got some nice copper in there as well. So a bit more to the copper collection anyway. And so this is kind of like a logic board. As I said, it would be like the main board for the Ethernet, as well as controls the hard drive and all that kind of thing, and also to the actual external control panel. So this would be the main thinking board. Oh yeah, and that's where the hard drive, so it's sort of like a little mini motherboard in a way. Okay. And there we go. It's actually a very nice board. So we've got a beautiful little, well, that's a AMCC PowerPC CPU kind of thing. Really nice. Nice BGA chip there for good gold recovery anyway. Some nice flat packs. You got the memory ICs, and well, it's even got the gold band crystal oscillators. They're my favourite little things. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 crystal oscillators on one board. That's pretty really good. Only usually see that many on like a telecom board or something. So yeah, really nice little board actually. Also got a couple of crystals, and these are all little SMD tantalum capacitors, the yellow ones. So this kind of board here you know, if you sell it, you want to sell it as a kind of like a higher grade board, right? It's certainly not like a peripheral board. This is better than peripheral, but most buyers will buy this as a mid-grade or a peripheral board. I would buy this as a higher grade board, but in this case, if you're into gold recovery stuff, this is the classic example of a board that you want to completely depopulate. You want to take off everything here. All these chips are good for gold recovery. As I mentioned, the 4 crystal oscillators with the gold band, you know, really good for gold recovery. Even got some okay pins here for the connected to the hard drive. You know, you got these pins here, they're okay, but yeah, all these, it's really, you know, for me, it's not worth selling this board. I'll take off everything, all these IC chips, you know. Obviously this is all junk, like the aluminium capacitors and that, we don't worry about that. Other side, there's really nothing. There's really tiny MLCCs that we can take off, and obviously these really small little tantalum capacitors, the yellow ones, where we can take off. But the MLCCs, they're so tiny, it's up to you how fiddly you want to get. The only problem when you're taking off really small MLCCs, you might have in between, you might have inductors, like here, this one here, it's an L, that's an inductor, it's a little black one, right? This one stands out, but sometimes they don't stand out. There's another one there, L3. If it starts with an L, the little code L3, that's an inductor, but the rest are MLCCs, and usually around where the IC chip is underneath, you know, these are going to be really good MLCs too. So if you want to get really fiddly, it's worth taking them off. But here, if you're not really into MLCCs much, if you know, most people that get MLCCs really go for the big chunky ones that are easy to spot and take off. But here we've got some great things, and yeah, a bonus nice gold cornered BGA chip, class 2 BGA, and you know, these flat packs will be good too. But I'm really happy with 4 crystal oscillators, and I will show you. I promised someone in a previous video that I'll show you how to take these off without breaking them. So we'll see if this one works for us. All right, so that's it, and well, the rest is just a CRT. Very straightforward now. Actually, the only point of difference here is this power supply. So that's the only real point of difference. But yeah, so it plugs into the board here, and so this actual cable, because it plugs into the CRT power board, and it's got a little plug on the end, you know, this is kind of worth keeping, because you know, it's got the cable on the end of it that we can put anything on the end, and you know, this might be useful to rigging up another kind of CRT if you wanted, but it just depends on how, you know, that's a bit technical for most scrappers. They don't want to get into it that deeply. But if you're an electronic enthusiast, then I can see the value in keeping that kind of thing. Okay, obviously we've got the degaussing cable, a nice copper that we can strip, and I think I've got to change the battery. Okay, just had to change the battery on the camera, but yeah, so as I was saying, we've got our nice little copper degaussing cable, and got our little circuit board, well, power board. Gonna have to break it out because the screw is right underneath the monitor. There we go. And there we have it. Our little power board. On these power boards on TVs, these IC chips, they can sometimes be really good for gold recovery. So yeah, I always take these off if I can. I've got some two nice copper spools here. Get some good copper there, a little bit of transformer, some aluminium, just the, you know, standard stuff. Bit of copper in these coils here as well, standard. And that's it. Aside from, we can get it off. It's a bit of braided. It's tinned copper, so it goes in the same category as your burnt copper, I suppose. If you don't have a separate tinned copper one, it's about the same price. But yeah, it's pretty much pure copper with tin coating. Alright. Well, that's it. That's our U-Butte monitor, or surveillance, you know, CCTV camera, the safe cube. Well, it wasn't so bad. We did get a really good, you know, really good circuit board here with for all of us that are gold recovering. Excellent. And I will show you how to take off those things in a minute. Got our regular power board. Got the Gaussian cable as well as some copper wire. Also got the hard drive out of it. So it's only 160 gigabyte hard drive. But I imagine when they bought this would have been, you know, about the biggest you could get at the time. So, but not anymore. But it's still a hard drive over that. It's a bonus. Yeah, said the copper yoke. Alright, now let me just zoom in a little bit and I'll get into this little board. Okay, so as I mentioned once before in a few videos back, someone asked me how to remove these gold band crystal oscillators without smashing them up. And so sometimes they do smash up, you can't do much about it, but usually they should just pop off. And what I use, obviously, you want to use a nice big flat screwdriver. The only thing I've done with this screwdriver, because these big ones usually have a thick blade, so all I've done here is I grind it down a little bit, because in regular scrapping, eWaste and stuff, there's really no need for these big screwdrivers with the thick blade, because there's just not screws thick enough. So but yeah, so I grind it down a little bit just to make it a little bit just so it's more useful for me, good for cutting through things, hitting it. But anyway, so here we go. So all I do is, or all you need to do, the action is you want to sort of go right, left. So you want to push against your crystal oscillator here, and you know, push it down firmly, and then just tilt the right to the right like that, or to the left. Tilt it that way. It usually pops off straight away. If not, tilt it the other way, so it's sort of like going like, you know, like that. So you want to push down on the board and right up against the crystal oscillator, and then just one push, one little turn, and that's it. And you can see the whole thing comes off. So that's your bit of ceramic or plastic, depending on which ones they are. And that's it. So you got the complete crystal oscillator ready to go. Okay, so we've got 3 along here. So same deal. I just push down on the board, right up against the oscillator, push down and turn to the left, and it's popped off. Popped off. And off. So there we go. 3 crystal oscillators, and there's 4. So there you go. So that's the crystal oscillators, and I've, in case you haven't seen a video about them or anything, there's a little gold band on the edge of the cap, but that's not really the gold that we're going for. It's inside that ceramic or plastic. If you actually, if you don't do it properly, taking it off the board, you'll remove that top, but then underneath you can see the gold bonding wires, and they're really good for gold recovery. And I think you get about, I think on average there are something like 7 or 8 grams of gold per kilo of these crystal oscillators. So there you go, that's how to take them off. As I mentioned, usually you don't get 4 crystal oscillators off a board out of a TV. Usually you'll only get, like on a motherboard there might be 1 or 2, on a slot card there'll be 1 sometimes. But usually telecom kind of boards like this, like a switchboard, it's a bit zoomed in, but so here, it's a big telecom router switchboard, very high grade, as you can see, 4 BGA chips, really nice board. But there's one there, 2, 3, 4, and these ones are a little bit thicker, a little bit higher than the other ones, but that's where, as I was mentioning, you normally find more than 1 crystal oscillator is usually on telecom stuff. So the same deal, the thicker they are, the even easier they should be, but sometimes they can be really tight, so squeeze right up against it, push down on the board, a little pop to the left. Okay, and you want to do it on the full width of the crystal oscillator. You don't want to do it on this side, the short side. You always want to do it to get the maximum leverage. Pop here, pop, one more here. So push down right up against, twist to the left, and it just comes straight off. There we go. Okay, so you got the little ceramic underneath, really nice. Added to the other ones, they're about the same, but there you go. I mean, they don't weigh much. It certainly takes a lot to get 1 kilo of these, but it all adds up. And I religiously take off every one that I see on the circuit boards that I scrap out. But obviously we got a lot better value here as well in 4 BGAs, even the flat packs. There's a couple of, see these BGA here, high grade BGAs, so they're even better, simply because I class these as high grade BGAs simply because they don't have the plastic like on these gold corner ones. They're just the BGA chip on its own, similar to what's on the RAM BGAs these days. But there you go. Alright guys, well, I think I've done enough items today scrapping out. I've got a lot more things to do, but today I'm going to be mostly cutting cords, cleaning up copper wire, because I've built up on a lot of cords that need to have the plugs removed and stuff like that. So I think this is enough items for a video for one day, and hopefully next week I'll have another video of scrapping out some other interesting kind of things, and might even do some street scrapping on the weekend. I only got 1 street scrapping video out this weekend, and reason is I went out there on the next day. I was about half an hour into it. I was cutting cords and picking up stuff. Got a nice a laptop and a few things like that. But what happened was my van was starting to play up, and I went to a service station to have a cup of coffee, turned it off and got the coffee, came back out to the van and went to start it. It wouldn't start, and had to get a jump start from roadside service, and it turned out that the alternator was gone. And so I managed to drive it back home, but that was it. Then I had to get a mechanic to replace the alternator. So I'm back on the road again. So I missed out on one video. It was only about, I don't know, 10 minutes worth of footage, so I didn't bother putting it up on YouTube. But hopefully this weekend we go out there and find some good scrap again. Alright guys, keep scrapping, have fun, and I'll catch you next time.